It's horse racing time on Prime Sports Network, and it's a Monday. So Chad Summers joins us live from.
Timonium, outside of Baltimore, Maryland.
You can hear. What exactly is going on back there?
The 2-year-old in training sale.
Oh, okay. Are you taking a break?
Yes.
Is that boring for you, or do you really like it? Or is it just part of the job?
That's part of the job. I mean, look. I mean, this is it's the best part of the job because this is where you're acquiring your talent. This is like when we go, like going to Indianapolis for the combine.
By the way, that's what Mito was doing yesterday.
Yeah.
You watched golf. All right, you ready? Good. You looked a little out of it after that cough. So we are going to wrap up what happened over the weekend, starting with the first race, the one on Friday, the one that you correctly predicted in your exacta. And Interstate Daydream got the job done in the Blackeyed Susan. What did you think about the way that race unfolded, especially since the favorite did not get the job done? The 2-1 shot, actually.
Yeah, look, I thought it was aggressive race riding from Florent Giroux for the Brad Cox trained Interstate Daydream, and look, she's a really nice filly. She didn't have things go her way when she ran against Nest and some of those nice fillies in the Ashland. Rightfully maybe skipped the Kentucky Oaks, which would have been a little too tough for her. Came in as a fresh horse into the Blackeyed Susan and was able to make the first move. And look, no real excuses from anybody else. Adair Manor set a perfect stalking trip and was just second best. I mean, when John Velasquez called on her, she just didn't show. She didn't show that fire and fight that she showed in the first 2 races, but was still kind of well enough to complete the exact. And look, she's going to go back, and I'm sure she's going to be a nice filly when everything is said and done. Just wasn't her day last Friday.
And what about Interstate Daydream? What did you think about her trip? And because it was an impressive one.
No, perfect trip, perfect ride. Did everything the right way. I mean, couldn't be any happier if you're the connections there. And where she goes from here, that 3-year-old filly division is kind of wide open right now. I wouldn't expect to see her back in the Acorn against the likes of Echo Zulu and some of those horses on the Belmont Stakes undercard. The race like the Mother Goose, I think they're pointing Juju's map, so I'm not sure that they would run them against each other. There's a race back home at Churchill that maybe they might take a look at, which would then kind of be a prep for some of those preps up in Saratoga. And look, there's a lot of 3-year-old filly races now. I would think you might see her long term looking at a race like the Coaching Club of America in Saratoga would be the next logical spot.
All right, and then the big one, of course, was the Preakness. And as far as the second leg of the Triple Crown went, Epicenter was the favorite. We talked about Epicenter all week as the favorite, but it was not Epicenter. It was John Hardoon's early voting pick, getting it done. What did you think about the race?
Look, I mean, John's a good friend of mine, and it's one of those things where the sheets had it right. The horse was coming in with a really, really fast number in the Wood Memorial, where Epicenter had taken a step back on numbers, and early voting continued to move forward. I'm not sure what that final number was for the Preakness, but I'm sure it'll be a new career best. And Epicenter ran second. Now, that being said, I think I would make the argument, and many people have made the argument, that Epicenter was the best horse in the race. I think there's no doubt upon watching that race.
The trip was terrible.
It would be hard pressed for me to think that Epicenter, who lost by a length and a quarter, was not, the clear best horse in the race, with the trip he had, getting shuffled back. I mean, basically only in front of Secret Oath after a half mile, where normally, he's been first, he's been second. He was 8th in the Derby, but it was at a 20 and he was in the best spot. This wasn't where he wanted to be. He kind of got squeezed between horses, never was able to really get a clear path. And Jose Ortiz, I mean, look, there's a fine line between getting disqualified in race riding, and him and his brother, from the help of the master, Angel Cordero, have really perfected that, because and he can say, well, the horse was only making his 4th lifetime start, but that horse went from the 2 path to the 6 path to kind of stop the momentum of Secret Oath first. And then once Secret Oath was kind of spinning her wheels, he then ducked back to the inside to then take off, all the momentum of Epicenter. And look, he never makes contact. He's clear throughout. But I mean, if you watch the ride,
yeah, we're watching it right now. We're watching we're right about heading into the stretch run.
Yeah, I mean, look, he first of all, sat the perfect trip. Kind of had the idea that his brother and Irad and Armagnac were going to make the lead. Once Fenwick, who took all that crazy money early on for whatever reason, didn't go, and Armagnac had the clear lead. I mean, it was the perfect ride and perfect race for Jose Ortiz to just kind of sit right off Armagnac, knowing that Armagnac's probably not good enough. And when he set him down, he was able to easily kind of inherit the lead. And then he just played defense the rest of the way. He saw Secret Oath coming on his outside, then he saw Epicenter coming on his inside, and he was kind of strategically kind of cutting off their momentum while not making sure they make contact. Now, look, they can tell the media, they can tell the press that the horse is green, but look, I've watched this horse train. He's been getting better and better every single day. I've watched. He goes very, very straight when he trains in the morning time. So
that was the excuse. They actually that was the so he had no control that the horse went inside and cut off Epicenter.
The horse was tiring, and so that's what he was losing his ability to go straight. But I'm not.
What a coincidence! Just when Ortiz checked over, turned around, looked on the inside, the horse just happened to glide on the inside. That was just.
Yeah. I mean, look, all credit to Connections. We talked about this on the preview show on Wednesday. This horse is much better than Cloud Computing ever was. I know they made the comparison, and Cloud Computing won a bad Preakness 5 years ago. This horse is a horse with a bright future from a great stallion and gun runner who's now had 5 or 6 Grade 1 winners already in his first crop. Unheard of. And this is a horse that's going to be a major player in the division, and it's one of those things. And we'll look ahead here in a minute to the Belmont, but really the horses that showed up and showed out in the Derby and the Preakness, we're going to look forward to seeing them later on in the year.
Absolutely.
Like the Haskell, the Jim Dandy, the Travers, and then culminating against older horses in the Breeders' Cup. And, it's setting up to be really an exciting rest of the year for 3-year-olds, because I don't think there's a clear-cut number one in the division, even though many will say Epicenter. At the end of the day, Epicenter doesn't have a Grade 1, while 4 or 5 of these other ones do. And so Epicenter is going to have to regroup, and I think he will. He looks like he came out of the race well. He tried every step of the way. I mean, you do have to feel for Steve Asmussen and Winchell Thoroughbreds, because, I mean, there's nothing they could have done to prepare the horse any better to run. Just didn't break as sharp as normal, and unfortunately became a victim of circumstances, especially when they went as slow as they did. So it was kind of ironic watching these jockeys make these moves, because in a smaller field, in the Derby, there's so much going on in a 20-horse field. You're trying to watch the horse you wagered on, or the horse that you work with, and you miss the trip of everybody. In the Preakness, with a smaller field, you're able to see everything going on. So you see the pace going slow. All right, now you're like, all right, where's Secret Oath? Where's Epicenter? And you're able to see Luis Saez on Secret Oath, the filly that won the Kentucky Oaks, senses how slow the pace is. He makes the first move, ends up moving too soon, some might say, gets tired and fades to run fourth, where Epicenter maybe waits too long and doesn't get there in time and has to settle for second. So there's never a right answer. There's always a wrong answer. And it's very easy to play Monday morning quarterback in horse racing. And it's very, very hard when horses are going 35, 40 miles an hour and they have to make these split-second decisions and hope that their tiny little opening opens up. If you get a chance, and I recommend this to any of our listeners, I think it's on Twitter. Jose Ortiz was wearing the jockey cam for the Preakness. And so you can actually ride along. I don't know if it's on the NBC feed or Jose Ortiz's Twitter feed, but you can actually ride along with Jose Ortiz throughout the race.
Okay.
From start to finish. And it's pretty cool because you're sitting where Jose Ortiz was sitting and seeing everything that Jose Ortiz was seeing. So really, really cool. These new modern technology things that are going on, and Nate and Nathan and the company that he does that present this stuff is absolutely unbelievable with the new access and the stuff that we're able to give, and try to make it a little bit more like NASCAR, maybe, where we have the you have the cameras and you have the walkie-talkies between the pit crews. This is something that's a welcome addition.
Yes,
and people can kind of put themselves in the frame of being the jockey while still eating their fatty foods and enjoying the day, but still kind of sitting aboard the winner of the Preakness, which I thought was really, really cool.
And look, this is why, as we were saying before the Kentucky Derby, we were talking about it with several of the horses, and we went over how difficult it is, all the different variables. And of course, you talk about health sometimes is the biggest one, but then it's post position in the Derby, it's trip in the Derby. And with all of that, Epicenter finishes second, gets beat by like a 1 in a million shot. And then here in the second race, he gets a bad kind of trip. I mean, he just didn't need great luck. He just didn't need bad luck, and he might have won the first 2 races.
Yeah, and then you're talking about what could have been, and going for the Triple Crown, and instead we see no Epicenter in the Belmont Stakes this year.
And that's not a surprise. Yeah. Do we know yet about who definitely will race in the Belmont?
Well, as of now, and look, this is 3 weeks instead of 2, so a lot of things can change. But right now, it's a field of 10, led by, I guess you say led by, right, the Kentucky Derby hero, Rich Strike.
Who now?
It's kind of ironic because if you ran in the Preakness, he's the story of let's see what happens here. He's back in 2 weeks. Anything can happen. No pressure on him. He wouldn't have been the favorite. He would have been the 3rd or 4th choice. If he ran great, then great. And if he didn't run great, the 2 weeks got to him, this and that. Now you're going to have a horse who was on nobody's radar now be on everybody's radar going into the Belmont Stakes. He is the story. Now, I don't know that he'll be the morning line favorite, but all eyes from the time Rich Strike ships in to Belmont Park, whenever he does, to the race, all eyes are going to be on Rich Strike and Eric Reed and Sonny Leone and, all the connections. And, they're going to have a target on their back, and everybody's going to know where Rich Strike is, where that certainly wasn't the case in the Derby. So, it starts with Rich Strike, and then you have a couple other, Derby horses that skipped the Preakness, and Barbara Road, who was a closing 6th in the Derby. You have a horse like Mo Donegal, who,
that's good one.
Mo Donegal, he'll probably be the favorite or second choice. Mo Donegal, he beat early voting in the Wood Memorial, came back, didn't run poorly in the Kentucky Derby. So he's one that'll take a lot of money. Then from the Preakness, you're going to have horses like Sticky. What was that horse name? Skippy Longstocking for.
Good.
For
Creative Minister
Stafford,
too, right?
For Stafford Joseph, Creative Minister will come back. They paid $150,000. They might as well get a 2-for-1 special, like on a Joseph A. Bank or whatever, right? And he certainly ran well to run 3rd. Proving connections right to pay the $150,000 late nomination fee. So they'll be back. And Ethro Road for the coach Dwayne Lucas, who won.
Of course.
He now infamously, I guess, scratched on Friday morning to allow Rich Strike to run, and then ran on the undercard of the Preakness Stakes because he had secret oath, and he won the Sir Barton Stakes. He won it impressively. So Luis Saez will be looking for back-to-back Belmont Stakes, having won with Essential Quality last year. And then, the X factor in this race is the horse that was on our Derby top 10 list for a while and disappeared, ran poorly in the Arkansas Derby, and that's We the People. We the People came back, prepped in the race called the Peter Pan. The week
I picked him in that one. I remember.
So he'll have 4 weeks between races. He won that race by 11 3/4 lengths. And again, this horse is trained by trainer Rudolph Brissett, who did the early training on Justify and has told anybody that listened to him that We the People is the best horse he's ever worked with.
Well,
so
that's my pick right now.
He was with a lot of nice horses when he worked for Bill Mott and Patrick Biancone as well. And he's very high on this colt. So, he's another one that'll be, among the top two favorites, I think, in the
I agree.
in the race.
Mo
So
Donegal
look,
and We the People. I think
yeah, I
those
think
would be the top two.
We the People will be the top two choices, and I think Rich Strike will probably be third choice. I mean, could change, but I think that's kind of where the storylines go for now. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on things. You could have a surprise addition, a surprise defection, between now and then. But that's what it's kind of looking like at this point. Another one of our Derby top 10 lists forever, Golden Glider, ran second to We the People. He'll also be in the Belmont Stakes. So our top 10 Derby picks, it's holding strong for the Belmont Stakes.
Well,
but yeah. So it'll be fun. And look, we have some other possible matchups on deck. We might see Echo Zulu return in the 1 mile acorn. 1 mile, 1 turn is kind of what she wants to do. And the race we've all been waiting for is the return of that horse Flightline. Lightly raced colt that's only run 3 times. He's 3 for 3. He's won every race by open lengths in California. He's going to ship to New York and run in the Met Mile against a really, really high quality field, including Speaker Corner for Belmont. So certainly setting up to be a really, really fun matchup over there. And we could see horses like Jack Christopher as well for Chad Brown, who will run on the undercard in the 7 furlong race. That would be the Woody Stevens, and then Chad Brown will dominate the turf races as Chad Brown always does.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the schedule. So next week, nothing major. Then June 4th, there's some stakes races.
There's some races at Churchill.
Yes.
There's some good races at Churchill
Arlington
on June.
and the Regret.
And the Blame, where we're gonna see that's the prep for the Stephen
F. Blame.
That's for the older horses.
Okay. And then June 11th, Belmont Day. You got the Hill and Dale is a grade 1. The Jaipur is a grade 1.
Yeah, the Jaipur 3/4 on the grass, grade 1.
Manhattan, Ogden Phipps.
Yep.
Woody Stevens. That's awesome. Going to be a big day.
Ogden Phipps, by the way, you might see a matchup of the 2 best older fillies in training right now in Latruska versus Malafat. So the card itself, while the Belmont might not have the Triple Crown on the line, the card so far is absolutely stacked. So definitely, if you can go, I know they're limiting tickets like they did the last couple of years. I think it's a max capacity of 30,000. Get your tickets because it's going to be a heck of a show.
And then a few weeks after that, you get the Mother Goose and so forth and so on.
What's that?
You got the Mother Goose after that, a week after that, a couple of weeks after that. You also then we start getting into like the Stephen Foster at Churchill and so forth. So it's just a ton of racing ahead, and that's why I was saying I just think it's ridiculous that we don't have better coverage than this, because once the Belmont's over, I think that Top Network will probably disappear again until the Travers. Probably.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, you just kind of start looking ahead to the Breeders' Cup.
That's what we're gonna do. Soon as the schedules start coming out, don't they have like a challenge series?
Yeah, and look, I've always said forever, and I've gotten some flack for it, okay, because the Derby is the Derby, and look, nobody wants to win the Derby more than me. I get it, but I've always said that I'd rather win a Breeders' Cup race than a Kentucky Derby because, and it played out this year, and I'm not just saying it now like a Johnny-come-lately. I've said this for years. The Derby isn't mean the best horse wins. The Derby means the horse with the best trip that qualified for the race wins.
Yes,
if
we saw that
race, you're a champion of your division. You're pointing for it year round. There's smaller fields. Anywhere between. I mean, the Philly Mare Sprint last year was 6. I almost ran it. Was 6. Anywhere from 6 to 12 horses kind of running these races. It's the best of the best that have proven out all year long. It's not you won some kind of a fluky prep and you got into the Breeders' Cup. So this is the best of the best, and it's an international crowd. In the Derby, we did have a horse from Dubai and a horse from Japan, but that was it. Normally, in the Breeders' Cup, you'll have 20 to 30 horses coming over from Europe, from Japan. Japan recently has sent 7 or 8 horses over. We have horses from Central America. There's a horse for sale right now, actually that won the Win and You're in Argentina, that they're trying to sell and bring over to America for the Philly America Breeders' Cup distaff. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of storylines that'll continue. But certainly, look, it was a great Preakness. It was a hot day, 95-degree temperature, but all the horses well behaved. Simplification, unfortunately, bled a little bit in the race with the hot weather, so he'll get some time off. But otherwise, everyone seems like they came out of the race well, and that's the most important thing as we look ahead to the future.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Breeders' Cup Challenge to come out, the races to come out. It must, I guess they probably put that out after the Triple Crown.
Right.
So we'll get on top of that for sure, and that'll be a big part of what we're going to do leading up all the way through till we get to that, big couple of days. So a lot to talk about there. Also, coming up in the next couple of weeks, we'll do some more of our polls. I know we've already had a couple, so we got to come up with some really good ones.
Well, listen, that's what our viewers are for. Ask our viewers what.
What do you want us to rank? There you go. You give us in the comment section. Tell us what you want us to rank, and we'll rank them because I know one of the things that we had discussed is maybe like a best rivalries. We could do horses, we could do trainers, we could do owners. So maybe best rivalries would be our next poll, but hopefully the viewers will give us a better one. All right, Chad. So I appreciate it. You're heading back over. Your timeout is done.
And going back to the ring.
Yeah, go back to do your work.
See if we can
we'll talk again next week, and then maybe when we talk about the Belmont Stakes, we'll get you and John together again.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Chad.
All right, great.